This lesson, we're going to be consolidating Year 7 topics in the shape module. So write down the title and date and have a go at these starter questions. Pause the video, please. Okay, here are the answers. Moving on to the nodi wers now. So the nodi wers for today is to be able to consolidate Shape 1 topics covered in Year 7. So pause the video and copy this down in your books, please. Moving on. So, for each of these topics, I want you to write down each of everything that's in this grey box, okay? So for every topic, write down, so the number 1, angles on a straight line, and then the numbers and letters at the end, okay? Because these are the Maths Watch clips, okay? Now you don't need to write the questions down, as you should have already stuck a piece of paper into your book. You should have already stuck these questions into your books, okay? So pause the video and try and answer these 2 questions. So you're trying to find the angle marked with a letter. So for the first one, you're trying to find the size of angle A. The second one, you're trying to find the size of angle B. Pause the video. Have a go at these 2 questions. Okay, so the rule for this topic is all angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. And if you didn't know that, make sure you write that down somewhere in your book, okay? So for our first question, we've got a straight line and we've got 2 angles on this straight line, okay? So we know that angle A and 72 equals 180 degrees because they're on a straight line, okay? So we need to rearrange this now. So we've got A on its own. So if something plus 72 is 180, that must mean that A is equal to 180 take away 72. And if you solve 180 take away 72, you're left with 108 degrees. So therefore, angle A is equal to 108 degrees. What about question B? Well, hopefully you recognize that this symbol is for right angle triangles and it signifies an angle size of 90 degrees, okay? So again, we've got our straight line and we've got our angles here. So let's collect our angles together. So we've got angle B, which is what we're trying to find. So B plus 46 plus 90 degrees equals 180. So let's collect the 46 and 90. So B, not equals, B plus 136 equals 180. So again, I want to rearrange this. So I've got B on its own. So that means I have to write B, instead of B plus 136, I'm going to have B equals 180 minus 136. And if you solve for that, you should find that B is equal to 44 degrees. Okay, so those are your 2 final answers. So pause the video and copy down these workings out if you didn't get them. Okay, next topic. Angles around a point. So pause the video and have a go at these 2 questions, please. Okay, so for angle A, you hopefully might have remembered from last year, we're looking at opposite angles. So if we have 2 straight lines that intercept, the angles opposite each other will be the same. So the angles that I've drawn in red would be the same as each other, and the angles I've drawn in green would be the same as each other, okay? So once you remember that, this question becomes very easy. Because 67 degrees is opposite to the angle C, that must mean that the angle C equals 67 degrees. Okay, just like that. Now, for question B, there's a little fact you hopefully remembered. All angles around a point add up to 360 degrees, okay? If you didn't know that, make sure you write that down in your book. So we're trying to find the angle D here, and we've got a right angle triangle here, so we know that this equals 90 degrees. So all these angles need to add up to 360. So let's collect them all together first. So D plus 75 plus 90 plus 120 is equal to 360, okay? So you're going to add these together. So D plus 90 and 120 is 210 plus 75. So D plus 285 equals 360. Rearrange it. So we get D is equal to 360 take away 285. So D is equal to 75 degrees. Okay, so pause the video, write down any notes that you weren't aware of, and copy the final answers down, please. Okay, next topic. So we want to calculate the size of the angle marked with the letter, okay? So pause the video, and you're trying to find angle E and angle F, okay? So pause the video and have a go at these questions. So hopefully you remembered, if you didn't know this, all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees, okay? So all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So for our first question, we've got our right angle triangle again, so we know that's 90 degrees. So all these angles have to add up to 180. So let's write them down. So we've got E plus 90 plus 35 equals 180 degrees, okay? So E plus 90 plus 35 is 125 equals 180. So just rearrange this now. So E is equal to 180 minus 125. So E is equal to 55 degrees, okay? So that's the first question. The second question now, hopefully you recognize that this is an isosceles triangle. So that means that the two angles at the bottom here are the same, okay? So what does that mean for the question? Well, we do know this angle, but we don't know what the value is, but we do know that it is the same as its opposite angle, okay? So to write this down, we could say that F plus 64 is equal to, because it's a triangle, equal to 180 degrees. So instead of writing F and F, we could write 2F, or 2 times F, plus 64 equals 180, okay? We need to get rid of the 64, so 2F equals 180, take away 64. So 180 take away 64 is 116. Okay, so 2 times something is 116. Or another way of saying that is, what is 116 divided by 2? So F equals 116 divided by 2, that is 58 degrees, okay? So that's angle F. So if you didn't get those questions, pause them down, pause the video, and copy down the notes on the side as well, please. Okay, next topic. Angles in a quadrilateral. So again, you're trying to find the angle marked with a letter. So in the first question, you're trying to find X, and in the second question, you're trying to find H. So pause the video and have a go at these questions. Okay, so a note, A note for this topic is all angles in a quadrilateral A quadrilateral is just a fancy name for a four-sided shape. Add up to 360 degrees. Okay, so all the angles in these shapes add up to 360 degrees. Okay, so for our first shape, question A, we've got x plus 70 plus 45 plus 88, and this is equal to 180. Okay, so we're going to add these together. So 70 plus 45 is 115, and 115 plus 88 is 223, is 203. So x plus 203 is 180. Oh, sorry, 180. Remember, the angles add up to 360 degrees. Sorry. Whew. So x plus 203 equals 360. So therefore, x equals 360 take away 203. So x equals 157 degrees. Okay. So the next topic now, so we got B. So again, we've got these two right angles, remember? So these angles are equal to 90 degrees, okay? So what angles have we got in here? Well, we've got H, we've got 90, we've got another 90, and we've got 125 degrees. And these all have to equal 360 degrees, okay? So H plus, well, 90 plus 90 is 180, plus 125, that would give you 305. Okay, and that is equal to 360. Rearrange this so H is on its own. So H equals 360, take away 305. H is equal to 55 degrees. Okay, so pause the video and copy all these answers and all these notes down in your books, please. Okay, next topic. Angles on parallel lines. So there's a few sneaky rules to remember for this topic that can make these questions very easy to answer, okay? So see if you can remember them, pause the video, and have a go at these questions, okay? Okay, so let's have a go at question A. So there's a lot to unpack here. So there's actually 5 different angles we're trying to find. We've got K, H, I, L, and J. So let's start with K. So if we look at these straight lines, we can see that angle K and 124 are both on a straight line, okay? And we should all remember by now that angles in a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Therefore, K plus 124 degrees equals 180 degrees. To rearrange this, we write K equals 180, take away 124. So that means that K is equal to 56 degrees. Let's jot that up here out the way. So K equals 56 degrees. Now, hopefully you remember from an earlier question the rules of opposite angles. So opposite angles. And if we look at K, we've got 2 straight lines that make up the angles K and H. So that must mean, if K and H are opposite, that must mean that they're equal to each other. So if K equals H, we know that K is 56 degrees. Therefore, H also has to be 56 degrees. So H equals 56 degrees. Now, there's another rule called corresponding angles. So corresponding angles. Now this one doesn't really roll off the tongue that well, but they're also called F angles, okay? If we imagine we draw a letter F into our shape here, the two angles inside the nooks of the letter F, let me draw them in red, sorry, to highlight them a bit better. The two angles in the nooks of the F are the same, okay? So if we notice that the angle 124 is in the corresponding nook to angle J, that must mean that J is equal to 124 degrees, okay? And while we're on the topic of corresponding angles, it's not obvious at first, but if you imagine an upside down F now, so I'm going to use green now, if we imagine there's an upside down F going like this, now we can see that the angle K is in a corresponding nook to the letter L, or the angle L. So that means that K is equal to L, and we know that K is 56 degrees. Therefore L, is also 56 degrees. So just to write it here, we know that J was 124 degrees, and we now know that L is also 56 degrees. Now there's one angle we're missing now. Ooh, no highlighter. So we found all the angles except angle I. So have a very quick think. What rule could we use to find angle I? Well, we could use the opposite angle rule, because if we think about it, opposite angle I is opposite angle J, and we know that J is 124 degrees. Therefore, using the opposite angle rule, J is equal to I. Therefore, and we know that J is 124, therefore I is also 124 degrees. So I equals 124 degrees. Okay, a lot of steps in that one, okay? So very well done if you followed that explanation. So pause the video. Sorry, don't pause the video just yet. I'm going to do question B now. So there's a few things to unpack here, okay? So if you looked at angle B, you might have recognized that in order to find the angles in this triangle, 55 and P and M had to add to 180, okay? There was one thing you had to do before that, and this is another rule. This is the alternate angle rule. Alternate angle. Okay. And what the alternate angle rule is, so if you've got an angle, and this is also called the Z angle rule, okay? So you've got two angles here, 41 and P. And you might be thinking, well, how on earth are they related? So this is called a Z angle. If you fill in the lines, you can see the letter Z appears, okay? And just like the letter F, the angles in the nooks of the letter Z are the same. And in this case, it's the nooks of the letter Z. So in this case, P is equal to 41 degrees, okay? Now we know what P is. We now know, 41. Now we know that P is 41 degrees. We now know two of the three angles in the triangle, okay? So now we can answer the question. So let's write P 41 degrees up here. So now we know that 55 plus 41 plus M is equal to 180. So that means that, sorry, just rearrange this. M plus 96 equals 180. M equals 180 minus 96. Therefore, M equals 84 degrees. And that's your two missing angles. Okay? So pause the video and copy down these two sets of workings out, please. Okay, last topic. Exterior angles of polygons. So you should be able to figure these out using the rules we've covered in this lesson. So pause the video and give this question a good go. Okay, so for the first question, we're trying to find the angle X, okay? Now we can't straight away think about angles inside a triangle because x is outside the triangle. But the angle x is on a straight line sharing an angle inside a triangle. So actually, if we find this angle here, which I'm going to label y, we can use that to find x. So how are we going to find this new angle y first? Well, all angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So y plus 32, we've got our right angle triangle here as well, plus 90 equals 180 degrees. So y plus 122 is equal to 180. So y equals 180. Take away 122. So y is equal to 58 degrees. Now, this isn't our final answer, remember. We have found that the angle inside the triangle here is 58 degrees, okay? But we still need to find out what angle x is, okay? And remember, all angles on a straight line add up to 180. So x plus 58 equals 180 degrees. Therefore, 8 equals 180 minus 58. Therefore, x equals 122 degrees. And that's your final answer for this one, okay? Last question now. So we've got an isosceles triangle, you can tell, because two sides are the same length, marked by these little symbols. And we know the angle on the outside of this triangle, but we don't know the angle inside or the angle A, okay? So first of all, let's label some of these missing angles. So if I've got angle A up here, we've got angle B here, I'm going to label these missing angles in here angle X, okay? So if we think about this for a minute, if 132 plus X is 180, we must have the exact same angles on this side as well, because X plus something is 180. And if we know that X plus 132 is 180, that must mean that B is equal to 132, okay? So B is 132 degrees, okay? No sort of rules or method for that. You should hopefully be able just to figure that out by looking at the picture, okay? Now, in order to find angle A, we first need to find out what angle X is. So how do we do that? Well, like we said, these angles are on a line. So X plus 132 must equal 180. So X plus 132 equals 180. Let's do our rearranging. X equals 180 minus 132. Therefore, X equals 48 degrees. Okay, that's not our final answer. Remember, we're trying to find angle A. So now let's think about what the angles in a triangle add up to. So they add up to 180. So we've got two X's and an A have to add up to 180. So we could write X plus A equals 180. Well, we know that X is 48 degrees. So we can write 48 plus 48 plus A equals 180. 48 plus 48 is 96, so we can just switch them around. So A plus 96 equals 180. A equals 180 minus 96. Therefore, angle A has to equal 84 degrees. And that's your final answer to this question, okay? Good work today, guys. Hopefully that wasn't all totally new to you. Hopefully you remembered some of it from last year. And we'll get cracking with this topic. I'll see you next lesson. Bye now.